those that may be unfamiliar with a chronic nuisance program, and just describe it for them.
Yeah, so what chronic nuisance basically says, or at least ours, and I think a lot of these are very similar. I think a lot of other places, honestly, have modeled theirs off. I know locally, and it's gone beyond locally, have modeled theirs off of what we do as well. Again, not that we're necessarily the very originators, but I think we took it to a pretty full extent. If there's a lot of parameters that go into it, but essentially if we have a problem property, we have certain types of offenses happening under certain conditions, that sort of thing. We're very cautious not to punish the victim, so to speak, kind of thing, that we can bring in the property owner and we have a conversation with them and we go through what we call an abatement plan. How are we going to rectify the problems here? We talk about best practices, if it's a rental, all those sorts of things. And then if they are not making a good faith effort, quote unquote, per the ordinance, to address the situation, then we can start billing that owner for subsequent nuisance activity to that property, which again is an interesting piece of it because it's billed as a service. If they don't pay the bills, it goes in their property taxes. We can also cite them for maintaining a public nuisance under city ordinance. So there's a couple different, I guess, consequences to the property owner. And the interesting thing is the most difficult problems that we have to solve really are the owner occupied problems because there's not that layer of guardianship, I guess you could say in there. Those are the really difficult ones. Another tool that we've used in this whole process is chapter 823 from Wisconsin state statutes, which is basically a closure. And over the years, we've literally closed a few properties where
Mm.
people are literally, it's not an eviction, but they have to leave the property and it goes through a court. They're temporarily restrained from the property, goes through a whole court process. But those are and we do those very sparingly because that's an extreme case, an extreme consequence. But the impact that it has on those neighborhoods is what I always think about with everything at the end of the day. How is this neighborhood being affected by this activity? Whether it's that nuisance activity coming from the address, whether that's drug activity, whether that's shots fired, how disruptive is that to that neighborhood? And one house can really cause chaos in a neighborhood.